Over the years, we've had some great conversations and very interesting perspectives shared here. Today, I'm delighted to welcome a guest who knows Microsoft very well. And I've had the opportunity of knowing him for over 2 decades. His bio describes him as a business leader and author, a social entrepreneur, chairman of the Global Energy Alliance, and also UNICEF's special representative for young people and innovation. Ravi Venkatesan. He's my guest. His latest book, What the Heck Do I Do with My Life, is fresh off the oven. And this was just one of the many reasons to meet with him and soak in some very valuable learnings today. So welcome to Tete-a-Tech, Ravi. Pleasure to have you here.
Hey Anant, it's a particular delight to be in conversation with you.
What do I do with my life? This is an existential question that marks every stage of everyone's life. Or is this unique to the current times? Given the complex, dynamic world we live in both these scenarios, does it serve as a catalyst for change or inertia?
I actually think this is a fabulous, though uncomfortable question. So it comes up usually when you're dissatisfied, right? Because if you're thrilled with whatever you're doing, this is not a question you think about. You're just doing what you do. So when this question wells up, it is, you're often uncomfortable, and there's a tendency to want to put a lid on it or shove it under the carpet. But actually, that's a mistake, because if you sit with the question, lean into it, and get past the discomfort, as you correctly said in your question, it becomes a catalyst for profound change, not only in terms of what you choose to do next, but in terms of self-knowledge as well. So my advice is, when it pops up, lean in.
No, so thank you so much. And you mentioned this. I think we are all living longer lives today, and there are many implications of longer lives. Very importantly, how do we keep our longer lives productive and meaningful? Your thoughts on that?
I think the most important idea is to focus on cultivating what are called intangible assets. And so, all of us worry a little bit, at least, about our financial assets. Do I have enough savings? Do I have a house? How are we going to educate the kids, or so on and so forth? But very, very few of us, and I know you to be a notable exception, do we actually think about our intangible assets? What are these? These are things like family and relationships, your health, your reputation, your networks, your expertise. And you need to be cultivating these, honing these at least as much, if not even more, than your financial assets. Why? Because in this VUCA world, and particularly as you live longer, you're going to have many more shocks. And these are the assets that will cushion your shocks, give you resilience. And number two, there'll be many more transitions in our lives. The longer you live, the more transitions you'll encounter. And these assets help you become portable and navigate these transitions more easily. So that's the advice I would give. But then I would also say, read the book. There's half a chapter on it.
Absolutely. I've done that. And I really found your concept around the intentional life very important as even I navigated the book. So what are the building blocks of living this intentional life? And is it possible to even program yourself to build capacity for happiness, something I guess everybody's looking for? How do you do that?
This intentional life idea is very important. You need to be intentional about a set of choices. For instance, of course, what do I want to do with my life? But more fundamental questions. How do I define success for myself, right? Who do I want to spend time with? I use that phrase that you're the sum of the 5 people you spend most time with, right? So who do I want to spend my time with? Where do I want to live? I think that's going to have profound consequences for the way opportunities present themselves, etc. Whose views do I trust? Where do I get my information from? What do I believe to be true? So there are a whole set of these questions which are today largely implicit. And all I'm suggesting in my book is think explicitly about this and choose intentionally. And I think it'll make a difference.
You've unpacked quite a bit there, Ravi. So I'll pick one more thing that you spoke of a little earlier about we live in this VUCA world, and something that you've referred to multiple times in the book, and something that at least I and a lot of my colleagues think about every day, which is the growth mindset. And therefore, the growth mindset, and with that, the abundance mindset. How do you really use them to navigate this VUCA world?
I think the most important thing in a VUCA world is to see opportunity in everything. Okay. And so even when a catastrophe like COVID happens, to be able to say, look, here's an opportunity, both at a personal level as well as, as a business leader. Where is the opportunity in this, right? That's a classic example of a growth mindset. Redefining success and failure is, I think, incredibly important, and it's a central idea in the growth mindset that there is no such thing as failure. There are setbacks, but every time you encounter setback, you just get up and keep going, and you learn from that setback. And the only failure is quitting. So I think that idea is so central for success in these times.
No, very, very critical thoughts as you think about growth mindset. So let's move a little bit to the how. And you've shared very extensively in the book about meta skills and the ability to define how successfully we adapt in this
Yeah.
new world of work and otherwise. So, how does one cultivate these meta skills?
So I focused a lot on saying what are the underlying skills? What are the skills which are durable, which even 50 or 100 years from now are going to be invaluable? And I sort of put out there that there are four. Okay. And these four are: number one is learning agility. And learning agility is not just learning new things. It is the ability when you're thrown into a situation completely outside your comfort zone, your experience. Do you crumple, or do you figure out how to survive and eventually succeed and flourish? So learning agility is one. A second one is the entrepreneurial mindset and skills. And I make the point that not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur or will become an entrepreneur. But in this century, everybody needs an entrepreneurial mindset, which means what? Seeing opportunities and problems. Every problem is an opportunity in disguise, and you can build a business around it sometimes. Another one is resources don't matter. What matters is resourcefulness. The ability to problem solve on the fly is exceedingly important. Tenacity, not give up. You see any good entrepreneur, they overcome setback after setback after setback, and eventually, if you prevail to some extent. So these are all essential qualities for success, not just for entrepreneurship, for life. So entrepreneurial mindset is the second one. The third one is 21st century skills, and this should interest you a lot because in the age of AI, even as software is eating the world and doing more and more things that only humans could do, people skills are becoming more and more important because almost everything requires collaboration and problem solving between people, both within the organization, across disciplines and functions, but also across organizations. And the most important one is leadership. Okay. And so I decided to devote a whole chapter to leadership. The problem about all these four meta skills is they're not learnable in a classroom. You can't go online and take a course and learn leadership or these things. They are inherently experiential, and the only thing way you can do it is crucible experiences. These crucible experiences, when you take on a huge challenge beyond your comfort zone and you succeed, that's how you develop all four of these.
In this really, really hyper connected world, when we are constantly on and this whole FOMO or the fear of missing out is so real, how do you filter out the irrelevant pieces and focus on the significant ones?
This FOMO is a very human thing. But the beautiful thing about the mind is, powerful as it is, it can focus on only one thing, right? When you're deeply immersed in your phone, somehow the world, you tune out the world. You can't hear what people are saying around you. You don't know what's going on in the meeting. You're completely in the phone. Same thing when you're listening to music, you tune out the noise, traffic noise or whatever. So that's what I think we have to take advantage of. When you are able to focus the mind on what is truly important to you, the signal, the noise fades out. And so the key, I think, is to find your purpose and immerse yourself in it. And then all these other things just become noise. And sure, it'll pop up in your mind, but it doesn't ruin your day. So I think the key to happiness and staying focused on your purpose so that all this other stuff is remains just noise in the background.
I still remember at that time we had a big discussion around leadership. So you've spoken about leadership more specifically in this, and you said you've devoted a chapter to it. So why does leadership matter so much in the current times, and what makes a good leader?
The fundamental problem is the way we think about leadership. We conflate it, we confuse it with position, with title, with authority. Oh, president is a leader, or general manager, she must be a leader. And reality is, it's not true at all. Okay, what leadership in the 21st century really is a verb. It's an act. It's not a title or a position. And I think if we need to all stop waiting to be rescued, and we need to step up and provide leadership to any of the problems around us that we care about. And so in my book, I give an example, lots of examples of just ordinary people, including a kid in a slum in outside Ahmedabad, extraordinary leadership. And they don't have formal authority, but they've got followership, which is the definition of leadership. Now, you ask what makes for a good leader. Man, there are books written on that subject. But I think there is really a set of attributes that matter. One is, empathy and passion. Okay, you see a issue or a problem and you decide to do something about it, and you pour yourself into it, and that passion is contagious, and others decide they want to be part of it, right? I think that's really, really crucial. Another one that is courage, the courage to go out there, ask for forgiveness rather than approval, the willingness to fail and withstand ridicule and rebuke and humiliation and keep going, the courage to make mistakes, accept it. So I think courage is an incredible part of it. I think earning trust and retaining trust is a central quality. One could go on and on and on. There are 4 or 5 attributes. But the important thing is, look, leadership can and must come from everyone. Leadership is not something that you're born with. Like most of the other qualities we've talked about, it's a muscle that you build by doing. So this is there in every one of us.
No, this has been amazing, Ravi. So thank you so much for all these wonderful answers. I'm sure the viewers will enjoy it. And thank you to our viewers to listening to us. Thanks a lot.